DDG episode 107. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swick.
How's it going, Dave? How's it going?
Good. I'm having a really good week. So how are you?
I'm doing okay. It's an off day, a lot of video games, way more than I was expecting to play
Yeah.
this weekend due to some stuff that dropped yesterday. So just staying busy. Actually, I got to remove some of the things I thought I was going to play that I ended up not playing.
All right.
Sorry, Guardians of the Galaxy.
We are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that uploads every Thursday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern Time on podcast services, including what's the new one? Good
Pods.
Good Pods.
I think.
If you have ever heard of Good Pods or used Good Pods and we weren't on there, we are on there now as of 2 weeks ago. We got an email from them saying, "Hey, thanks." So I was like, and Michael's like, "We should check this out." And I'm like, "Sure." So if you are listening on Good Pods and this is your first time hearing us, welcome. Thank you. Please consider subscribing. And if you're able to leave a review, I don't know the app at all. So if you can.
You can even review individual episodes. So if you really don't like our opinions,
Yeah.
get in there individually.
So, but yeah, and then other podcast services, if it allows reviews that you can actually use, stars and words, like that helps tremendously. And then just sharing the show, telling a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, more people finding out about us. Looks like people might be doing a little bit more traveling this holiday season. So you might have some more extra time to listen to it, or, being at home, working on some stuff, getting some holiday preps done, hanging decorations. It's always good to listen to something to keep you distracted and not fall off the roof. But other than that, all of our social stuff is in the show notes. I'll go over a little bit more at the end, but you can just click on the show notes and there's Facebook group, digital, or Twitter, Patreon, Teesprings, all the fun stuff's there. So we're gonna jump right into the news, and we've got some Xboxy stuff to talk about.
Yeah, so Xbox did their 20th anniversary stream. They were very careful to say they weren't going to make any new game announcements during that stream, and they kept their word because they mostly announced old games. So the first thing is they added 70 additional backwards compatible titles. The highlights include like the entire Fear franchise, Sonic Unleashed Generations, the entire Max Payne franchise, and then the surprise one, 50 Cent Blood on the Sand, which is a game I was really hoping they would add. But because it's a THQ game, they don't have it available on the digital store, so you'll need to track down a disc. And resellers immediately jacked up the disc price from $20 to $30 to $200 to $300. So if you've come across 50 Cent Blood in the Sand disc, let me know, please, at the person JC on Twitter.
Oh, okay. So real quick, over under on Josh Langford having multiple copies of this game.
He might.
No,
this would have
serious.
been
Over under on multiple copies.
at least 2. This was peak when he was at 360 Nation.
Yeah.
Or whatever his Xbox podcast was. So he might have a couple copies. I actually might need to
That might be, that might be
one.
worth a text message.
Yeah. See if I have
And just
anything
be super
for
discreet
trade.
about it, because he's somewhat connected now, but he's also disconnected, so it might not have hit his feed yet. And he's gonna be like, "Yeah, I'll send it to you." Like, I don't know, Michael's asking me for a weird game. Gets on Twitter after he goes to the post office. Damn it!
But he's a man of his word, so he would still send it. He just won't be happy about it. In addition to that, 11 of those 70 games got the FPS boost, and then an additional 22 games that got FPS boost that were already backwards compatible. So they basically doubled the frame rate for all of the Dragon Age games. So Dragon Age 1 and 2. They did Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas. They did Oblivion. And then they did Dead Space 2, 3, and several other games, like Mirror's Edge now runs at 60 frames. So they did follow up with this, saying, like, they are done. They said they were done doing backwards compatible games before, and they did this, but they said they only wanted to do this for the 20th anniversary. After this, they are done adding backwards compatible games. They didn't close the door on adding FPS boost to additional games. I don't think. They might have clarified that in other outlets. But this was, like, their last hurrah for backwards compatible stuff, and now they're at a couple hundred. I think it's like over 500 or 700, something like that, of backwards compatible games. So pretty good for them to do this for the 20th anniversary.
Yeah, it's cool. I definitely think that I'm surprised they actually went this far into the overall backwards compatibility, because I believe that they have data that says it's not worth the effort. And then the exact thing you're talking about with the game, you just talked about the 50 Cent Blood on the Sand. Like, that's not benefiting Xbox at all.
No, it's just it's going to benefit people that want to sell their copy and people that held on to their copies.
Yeah.
So
And
unless
then
it comes back.
yeah, and then the FPS boost is I feel like the FPS boost is a little bit them probably partnering with the developer. I mean, I don't really know if they can go in and just boost this game's code.
So apparently they try it and then they check with the developer to see if it's okay to implement it.
Right.
Like they make sure it works before they waste any developer's time. And then they basically have to ask the developer for permission to implement it because it might mess with their vision or something.
Yeah. So I think that we could totally see more games that maybe when a developer's in between projects, they have time to work on something, or if they know that they're going to put something on sale, or like, hey, we're going to, Xbox is like, hey, we're going to feature this game on our great gifts under $30, and we could put a cool logo on it that says great for Series X or something now, and that could help as just an example. I think that's easier than, because they essentially, when they backwards compatible something, like, don't they make it like achievements and everything work? Like the whole 9 works, right?
Yeah, it's the original game now works, except save for like, I think they made, so it's funny, they made Skate 2 backwards compatible, because previously only Skate 3 was. Skate 2 is backwards compatible, but then EA announced today that they're shutting the online servers down for Skate 2 next month. So it's such a weird
I saw the
timing.
headline for that, yeah.
So like everything technically will work, achievements, online play, unless, an EA comes in and says, haha, and turns off the online servers a month later. So yeah, they make sure all of that works when they implement this. So definitely does take work for the backwards compatibility team, which I assume, as crazy as it may sound, this backwards compatibility team are probably now just going to work on backwards compatibility to the Series X2 or whatever they call it in the Series S. Like that's what they're going to be moved on, because we're probably like 3 or 4 years away from hearing rumblings about like dev kits for
X
the new
Pro
consoles
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what that team is most likely working on now, and that takes several years, especially if they're going to carry forward all this previous work to what they're ever going to do in the future. I know you're not the biggest old game fan, but I feel like this is relatively harmless. It does suck though that they don't add everything to the online store, but
it makes me wonder, like, why. I from a business standpoint, it makes me wonder, like, why go through the effort to make a game like 50 Cent Blood on the Sand work, when there, again, like I just mentioned, like there's no financial benefit to Microsoft for it. Like it's not going to get people to go to the store that may look at something they haven't looked at before. It's not on Game Pass. It's, somebody, like, I think I saw somebody tweeted something, I was reading replies, oh, I'm looking forward to these games being free with gold next month or something, because like as part, and that's not wrong, when they tend to throw a 360 game in there, and obviously it needs to be backwards compatible with the one in the series for it to be worth it for the player. But I other than like good PR, I don't see the benefit to this.
I would just assume they test so many games that they look at like the amount of effort it'll take to get it to run, and they're just like, oh cool, we'll get this done in whatever time frame.
Maybe they had 67 games working, and they said, all right, just throw these other 3 on there. Like, oh, we're not going to be able to get anything for it. It's fine. 70 looks better than 67. Just make it happen.
Like maybe it could be one of those things where someone on a backwards compatibility team is like, you know what, let me see if I can get 50 Cent to work. And then they do, because they know it's a highly requested game. And despite there being licensing hell because it's a THQ game, they just put it out there anyways because the work's already done.
Yep.
And they're just like, all right, let's just throw it up there. I mean, it's not like this is the first time they've done this. Like, technically, the Left 4 Dead games aren't purchasable on the Xbox store, but they're backwards compatible.
Yeah.
Though, I found a way to get it by loading up the Xbox 360 store and purchasing it through there with my account. But you can't do that with 50 Cent because it's a THQ casualty. Yeah. But maybe this will motivate THQ Nordic.
Yeah, or limited run games comes to them and says, hey, or something.
Yeah.
And then, like, just looking at the major titles that you highlighted for the FPS boost, those are all Game Pass games. So, like, it's...
No, pretty much everything on here is a Game Pass game.
Yep.
So it was done for that reason.
Raises the validity of that service, which is already good enough as it is.
Yeah, because I'm sure that has to play in a part of, like, hey, let's look at all the Game Pass games and get them the FPS boost, because you don't want someone to buy Game Pass and be like, oh, let me try this game, and it runs like shit.
Yeah. I mean, the interesting part, I was looking at some stuff today, and like we've talked about how the app in the store is terrible for Xbox in terms of your ability to purchase a game. It's just a pain in the ass. Like, it'll say download the console. I'm like, that's great. I just want to know how much it costs, because they have that download before you buy function, which is a cool feature, but it's annoying. I was trying to find prices on there. The interesting part when I was looking for something, so like Destiny 2 Beyond Light is coming off of Game Pass December 8th, the day after the 30th anniversary releases, which is already going to cause some issues. Like, whenever that, however they end up working that deal out, it's leaving console, but it's leaving console and cloud, but it's staying on PC. Super weird. But I was looking, a couple of my Xbox friends were asking me some questions. They're talking about some stuff. I was like, let me see how much it is right now. And then even when I search Beyond Light on, like, just on a browser to try to purchase it on Xbox, it says get Game Pass. Like, instead of add to cart or $39.99, like, it took a little while for me to find how much it cost. So, like, Game Pass is front and center for them. And I'm actually surprised, again, that we're not currently seeing more marketing for Game Pass right now, like going into this holiday season. Like, I think you might see it, you see it with Halo and you see it with Forza, but I don't see direct Game Pass advertisements right now, at least on, like, the NFL games I'm watching and the baseball games I was watching and stuff.
Yeah, you're not seeing a ton of that, but I mean, we'll talk about Halo later, but like, as soon as you click the campaign button, it kicks you to, like, oh, you can buy this, but at Game Pass it unlocks.
Right, for sure.
There's definitely, they're advertising to the people that already have the console, for the most part, in console, but I'm sure we'll see that rise up a little bit. Though it's crazy, like, Black Friday is next week, and I was expecting to hear more, like, crazy deals.
It's essentially a day,
like,
after you listen to this. For those that are listening to the audio-only version, it's a week after. So
I was expecting to see, like, more, like, in-store options for, like, the Ultimate Game Pass or whatever.
I just thought I'd see a bigger global marketing push for Game Pass. Like,
thinking about it, I've been watching a lot of basketball, and I've seen more of the PlayStation ad.
Yep. With no games, the chess playing PlayStation ad, like,
all the time.
Yeah, and my wife's like, "What's that for?" I'm like, "It's this marketing company that they have that does some. I don't know what they do, but there's little. I think if somebody broke down the commercial, there's little nods
there's a
to
ton
games,
of Easter eggs.
But at the same time, she's like that. What? And I was like, that's. And then Xbox is doing direct game advertisement, and they're not advertising their best service. So, like, I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, I think it says, like, PlayStation have just like, well, we don't really have a holiday game, and then Xbox is like, our holiday game's free.
Yeah.
So, like, what's it matter?
Yep.
And then the biggest thing that came from the 20th anniversary stream, outside of that documentary that looks fascinating, like that 6-part documentary, I definitely want to see that, is they shadow dropped Halo Infinite. They're calling it a beta.
Shadow dropped with quotes. This is like the worst kept secret.
I know.
This was all over the internet all weekend. Stupid Pringles ripped it off for him.
Yeah. So they shadow dropped it, which was supposed to be their big holy shit moment. But Halo Infinite multiplayer. They say beta / season 1. But it's available now on PC and all the Xboxes that you can get it on.
On the boxes with X's.
So it shadow dropped yesterday, if you want to call it that. Just to know how successful it's doing, it peaked yesterday at like 272,000 people on PC.
Only.
On Steam. Yeah, on Steam only.
And Halo is typically a console boy game, just for the record.
Yeah. So. And also, Microsoft has Game Pass on their PCs, so like you imagine,
and Halo multiplayer is free to play.
Yeah, so it just right now its first day had pretty successful, and actually the servers held up.
Yeah.
I didn't really.
Yeah, I was talking.
I had one or two instances.
I had to restart my app like once or twice. I think I had to, because it would just get stuck in a queue. But
yeah, I had like 2 games where it like disconnected me from the server after the match completed, and luckily I only lost stats for one of those games. The other one counted. But yeah, no, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But in other Xbox news, or any thoughts on Halo Infinite shadow dropping, other than their surprise being ruined?
Two things. One, I'm not a fan of like your marquee franchise doing this. I think that they could have totally like hyped this up and like there could have been like they could have if they whatever their deal with Pringles is, who's the main leaker of this, like they could have like announced something on Friday that says, hey, there's specially marked Pringle cans that are available for you to be able to play the game on Monday, and like what. Like I think it could have been done a little differently. And then my other part is a question that I have for you, and I think I already kind of know the answer to this question because I feel like this was definitely planned out multiple weeks in advance. Do you think that and I don't know the exact term to use, the quote unquote lack of interest in Vanguard multiplayer and Battlefield 2042 had accelerated this timeline?
No, I think everyone kind of works in their own box, especially I think this ruins Battlefield's plans.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was done intentionally, especially Microsoft's a partner with EA. Right. EA is part of Game Pass. I don't think they would intentionally do this. If anything, they might even give them a heads up, like, hey, just so you know.
Well, because Phil Spencer had hinted about the release date of Halo Infinite.
Yeah,
being worried, as people were reading between the lines of him pretty much saying, oh, we're evaluating other competing franchises, and everybody's like, oh, he just wants to know when Call of Duty and Battlefield are coming out, like, and he wants to stay away from them. And now, if that was led to believe to be true with the December 8th release date, they just said, F it, and put it out right in the heat of both of these games.
I mean, the only thing I can think that would be accelerated is Call of Duty did not hit. Like, it isn't hitting like it normally does, and Battlefield had a rough launch to where I could see if either one of those I could see if either one of those had a successful launch, maybe you wait a week or two. But I would imagine this was planned out way ahead. It needed something for this 20th anniversary stream, so I imagine this has already been known for like
but at that point in time, like why date, I don't know, why date it then?
Because the campaign is still important enough to Halo, and they either need more time for that, and they also, I could see from just like a pride perspective of like, if you launch campaign and free to play Halo on the same day, who the fuck is going to play the campaign? Right. Especially all the extra work they had to put into the campaign.
A huge miss, like we talked about with people on 4 or 5 day holiday break over Thanksgiving weekend. Like, this is when people play video games, like a lot. They come home from school. They probably, some people maybe didn't take their consoles to college with them, just because.
Or they're buying their console for the first time that weekend.
So I think it's a huge, I mean, I played it. I think it's a huge get. We'll get into a little bit more deeper Halo conversation later, but it's super interesting because the comparison of, people going, oh, is this year's, the same thing you hear all the time, is this year's Call of Duty worth it? Is what do you call it? Is Battlefield worth it? And then is Halo worth playing? Okay, one of them is just free to play. So
no, that's what it's gonna end up coming down to. But like, Battlefield is probably in trouble again because of this.
Yeah,
and then Call of Duty, like we talked about last week when I played it. The only thing I could walk away from Call of Duty last week was like, it's fine, like, and then when you talk about Battlefield, like was I reading correctly? They didn't launch with voice chat. Voice chat is coming like day 25.
I've heard that, yeah.
Because they didn't think like their people would need it, and it's just like it's a good feature. But like, Amazon launched a game earlier this year that they ended up killing right away without voice chat.
I think originally, like when 3 years ago, if we would have had this conversation about game chat, it would have been like, okay, PlayStation has their own really good party chat system, Xbox has their own really good party chat system, and if you're a PC player, you essentially use Discord. And all three of those statements are true, except for crossplay screws all that up.
Exactly, which is why you need some sort of voice chat. It's just kind of crazy to launch without it. So, like, I don't know. Halo has an amazing opportunity right now, and they're probably, after they saw like Call of Duty launch to little fanfare, and then they saw Battlefield launch to even less fanfare, they're probably like, hell yeah, we made the right choice by pulling the trigger on the multiplayer early.
And so far, the stats are showing in their favor. The amount of interaction that Xbox has gotten in the last 14 days is crazy. Like, we didn't really talk about it, but Forza, like 4.5 million players have played Forza. Like, that's nuts.
Yeah. And it's like doing well on Steam,
Yep.
which means people are buying it.
And I had
as
this
opposed to
conversation with Kyle on Twitter, who's he's vehemently kind of pro PlayStation, obviously. And if you look at my feed, there are numerous interactions with him. But you say what you want about it. He's like, yeah, well, they all bought the $40 upgrade. Oh, okay. So Microsoft's getting you for the Game Pass amount and the $40 upgrade. So,
yeah. So that's exactly what they want to do. And I guarantee Forza has now started a trend for Game Pass games to where they're just like, oh, early access, $40, and then people are gonna buy into it.
Yep.
In other Xbox news, this kind of came around, I think, a day before the event. But there's more confirmation. Elder Scrolls 6 will be Xbox PC exclusive. I know Dave hates this type of stuff, but like, people refuse. It doesn't matter how direct or indirect they say things. People refuse to believe it's a possibility. But Phil Spencer, during an interview, indirectly or directly saying it's hard to reference, is just basically saying it's exclusive. The exact quote is, "It's not about punishing any other platform. Like, I fundamentally believe all of the platforms can continue to grow. But in order to be on Xbox, I want us to be able to bring the full complete package to what we have, and that would be true when I think of Elder Scrolls 6. That would be true when I think about any of our franchises." So basically, in this interview, is just like, if we own it, it's going to be exclusive to Xbox and PC.
Yeah. And I
if
truly,
it isn't previously already established,
and
running on
truly think and believe in his head, in his mind, this is just me guessing, that he views the word exclusive as one platform. Like, that's what I think. Ratchet and Clank is a PS5 exclusive. Halo, he doesn't view as an example. He doesn't view as an exclusive. Like, to your point, you can play it on Xbox One. You can play it on Xbox Series. And you can play it and on PC. So that's like 3 platforms.
Yeah. It's just funny how like this stuff keeps coming on and people still are like, whoa, he left the door open. But this is the most like direct way I feel like he's been able to say it. With, even though how direct it is, it's still kind of indirect, but it's not coming to PlayStation. Like there's he's getting a little bit more aggressive with each statement of just like, why would it benefit Xbox? And like, if they want to establish Xbox, they need to use all their franchises, and Elder Scrolls is now one of their franchises. So it's something that they need to do in order to justify the cost, which is something we talked about a lot when the acquisition was happening, is they need to justify the $1 billion purchase that they made. And by doing that, they need to bring Elder Scrolls exclusively to Xbox. And that's what they're going to do. So we can move on to the next story, unless you have any additional things you want to add to that, Dave. There. All right. The next story is PlayStation cuts their PS5 targets for the holiday season. So originally, they were expected to sell 16 million consoles by March 2022, but they lowered that number to 15 million. And it is the answer we already know. It's due to supply shortages and just constraints in terms of the supply chain. So nothing too shocking here. I mean, obviously, no one wants to hear that before the holidays truly ramp up, that there's potentially going to be 1 million less out there, because based on what we're seeing in the sales thing, they're not dropping 1 million, the expectations of selling 1 million, because they don't think there's interest anymore, or as high interest. They're dropping it because supply chain is going to prevent them. I mean, there was a story 2 weeks ago, we didn't cover it, but like, they were like packing PlayStations to airplanes to do airdrops basically to the UK, because they just needed to get inventory there and couldn't rely on like the shipyards or the boats to bring stuff.
It's not shocking. I mean, they've hinted at chip shortages. We're aware of chip shortages and manufacturing issues, and so like, this isn't, and they even tried to change some of the components because of hardware issues. Nothing crazy, but like, just minor tweaks and changes to it to hopefully get more production. again, as much as people may or may not like to hear this, this is the difference between a hardware corporation of Microsoft and a software company of Sony.
Yeah, but I think Xbox is also having
you can't find the X. You can find S's. Like I could buy another S right now if I wanted to. I've been looking for an X and it's hard. So
I wouldn't be surprised if the S's are more available just because they can pack more of those on their shipping containers and parts wise.
You fit 6 in a case pack versus 1.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's definitely because we've been hearing about companies like hoarding PS5s and Series X's for the holiday season. But I have a feeling like if you want to buy one, you probably need to buy one in the next 2 weeks. Because I have a feeling December is going to be super dry in terms of trying to get one.
I don't necessarily want to say this out loud either, just because we're going to try to go for one over the holidays as well. Because like I've mentioned, I want an X now. But like Walmart's doing, like you got to be a Walmart Plus member to get 4-hour early access to it.
Yeah.
I've seen Best Buy does the $200 a year program or whatever that you have to be a part of to get a day access to it or something like. I don't blame them. I mean, I don't blame the companies for taking advantage of a hot commodity item. I think Walmart Plus, whatever, costing $10 or $13 a month versus Best Buy's program costing $200 is substantially different. But those are just examples. I'm sure Target will have. I'm surprised Target hasn't come out with any kind of program or anything.
They usually tie it to their red card.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen inventory of consoles at Costco and Sam's. You have to be members to get those. So it's, like those are the companies that have, a little bit more purchasing power, and then they're using the extra income that they get from these memberships to ensure that purchasing power stays. So it'll just be interesting. I think that the Halo console was actually in some stores on Monday, which I find super interesting. But needless to say, it's maybe that's just how the shipping went. It was I don't know, but it is what it is.
Well, technically, those Halo ones probably were made 2 years ago when the game was originally supposed to come out, or a year ago. So they just probably had those sitting in a warehouse. Like, all right, these were made pre-pandemic, and we still have them.
Yeah.
So they just released them.
Yeah. So I mean, it'll be super interesting to see how it goes this holiday. I genuinely. I'm out there. My wife and I are out there, kind of in the field again, looking for consoles. One for myself, and one for we're trying to help out a couple community members that have reached out to us, and it's tough. It's tough, and I honestly, at this point in time, I don't think it's bots. I just think the consumers are getting smart, and they're following the people on Twitter. They're signed into their accounts, and they're ready to go. Because like all of these bots you have to verify identities, you have to like type in codes and.
Well, now for sure, so I think it's scummy that like Best Buy and Walmart and Amazon even is locking it to Prime memberships. Yep. I think it's scummy because it's like a high buy-in cost, but I also know that limits resellers because you can only have one account usually for all of those per address. So it does lock resellers down. But it just sucks for the people that can't spend money on a membership but have money for a console, to where then they have to fight the bots.
Yeah,
you either need to buy in to avoid the bots, or you need to fight the bots.
I think doing the in-store pickup too was protecting that a little bit. I feel like that's kind of gone away to where like a human being could see, and I'm just using this as an example. A human being could see, holy crap, Michael Swick ordered 13 PlayStation 5s. Like,
Yeah. The only problem is it's very much up to the store on if they want to enforce and cancel it. And I've interacted with enough retail managers that are just like, either they understand like, hey, if more people come in, they can buy other things. But then you have the other managers who are just like, it's already sold, it's money. And they don't understand like the concept of like, you can bring 13 different people into the store as opposed to letting me walk in and walk out with 13 consoles. So it ends up coming down to the store level. So it's just a matter of like, do you have a manager that cares at that store enough to cancel that? When I worked at Target, we totally had those managers who would like enjoy canceling reseller, items when a reseller would buy 20 of one thing. But then you had other managers who were just like, who cares? So it comes down to policies and managers.
But I also meant like the in-store pickup like required the bots to take extra steps.
Yeah,
because you had to select a store, and you had to,
Yeah, Yeah, but because they're not locked behind like paid accounts, it doesn't stop someone from having 13 different accounts,
Right.
or just doing 13 pickups. There's always ways around it. Resellers will do it because they have to make a living, so they'll always find a way around it. It's just the beast that we're in right now,
Yep.
which is why I can't buy 50-cent blood on the sand for a reasonable damn price right now.
You should have
Just
bought it
stupid
before
bots.
Xbox announced it. You should have just known.
No, I literally, when we were talking about like this a couple months ago, I think I mentioned this game because people on Twitter were like, "Oh shit, you're right," and it's just like I didn't buy it because I'm like, there's no way this THQ game tied to 50 Cent is gonna be backwards compatible ever, and then it happened, and I hate it. Like I might hit some game stores that don't jack up prices and see if they still have it at a reasonable price, but they probably already saw the eBay prices and changed it.
Yep.
So sucks. All right, last story, which kind of did not expect this to happen, but it kind of makes sense from Take-Two's perspective. They have acquired the Ali Ali dev, Roll 7. No financials were talked about on how much it costs to acquire them, but they are going to basically put them under, or let them operate under, the Private Division label, which is like Take-Two's like indie imprint. So Ali Ali developers, Roll 7, they have Ali Ali World coming out, I want to say this year or early next year. But it's just Take-Two just adding more. I mean, they bought the Kerbal Space program developers like 2 years ago and have kind of just let them do their own thing. So this is just Take-Two acquiring another developer, an indie dev that they might put money into, or they might just continue to let them do their own thing. I just see this as Take-Two just diversifying right now because there's not much they have. They have Rockstar and like 2 studios that they just like closed or canceled the game for. And then they have like Firaxis, the XCOM dev. So this is just for them to diversify their portfolio. I mean, they lost Obsidian to Microsoft because that was under Private Division for Outer Worlds. So I guess is this them strengthening stuff, and because all the Sony and Microsoft are buying like full-on developers and publishers, this is kind of the type of acquisition that Take-Two can do to like strengthen their portfolios, to buy like indie developers.
Did they disclose figures?
No, they did not. So we can't do our fun thing of like, okay, so they were worth this much for Ali Ali.
Ali Ali compared to Conan. Let's see. Let's spin the wheel.
Yeah, that's our barometer. Is Conan. How much of the Conan devs? We just talked about this. They got like 300 million for them.
And then Devolver is $1 billion publisher.
Yeah, Devolver's $1 billion. Gearbox, didn't they sell for $1 billion?
Something crazy. Yeah.
So yeah, no. This is just Private Division.
200 million for Ali Ali. I mean, for
so like Insomniac money.
No, I'm not saying that, but I mean, like,
How much did Epic Games pay for the Fall Guys people?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. So I mean, it's always like super interesting, like, because I didn't think I wouldn't have thought Devolver was $1 billion publisher. Like. But
yeah.
And then like we started breaking down the Bethesda acquisition. You start thinking Arcane Studios, like $1 billion, blah blah blah. Like each studio in the publishing arm is $1 billion, and then you look at like Ali Ali's not a bad franchise. So it's super interesting to think about, like, and I agree that the number, like, if I say 200 million, you're like, okay, well, like, compared to Insomniac, but I feel like Sony got a hometown discount for Insomniac because they owned a lot of the IPs already. So it's like.
Yeah,
Sony already owned the IPs that Insomniac was either working on or wanted to work on. So like that automatically cuts your value some. And then, but when they buy Ali Ali, when they buy Roll 7, you then become the owner of these IPs. So
yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
In terms of just like, because Insomniac didn't have their own IPs.
Like they don't. I mean, they don't own Ratchet.
Overdrive.
They don't. Yeah, I'm saying they don't own any of their IPs except for, like you said, Sunset, and I don't. Yeah, they don't own Fuse. EA owns Fuse.
No,
not that anybody would ever want to do anything with that again. But like there's the intellectual property is what raises the cost. The talent is okay, so I mean, if we really want to break it down, the studio talent itself is probably 50% of the value or 60% of the value, and then the properties that you own are another 50 or 60%. So like, is Insomnia, and maybe I feel like in Insomniac's case, I want to say the talent was worth 25%, and the lack of IPs decreased them by 75%, because I feel like they're a $1 billion company too.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where like Ted Price or whoever is after they just knocked out like 2 Spider-Man games and
right, but the question becomes, would Sony have let them work on Spider-Man if they didn't own them?
I mean, they let them do it before they owned them.
I'm sure that was already in conversation.
They might have kicked the tires on that. Definitely kicked the tires on that. But now Insomniac's probably like, man, we probably could have got more, especially if they nail Wolverine.
Yeah, no, for sure. But it's you start getting into the chicken before the egg. Like, I'm sure Sony gave them a ton of payroll to make sure that Insomniac or that Spider-Man was where it needed to be, and Insomniac had what it needed. Like there's tons of woulda, coulda, shouldas, and all those things. It's just always like super interesting. Like using, again, half joking, half serious, using Conan as the barrier, as the barometer. It's like, okay, like that's a game that you and I have absolutely no interest in, and then you look at a game like Miles Morales selling whatever 9-10 million copies on both platforms. Like that's crazy numbers, like for a console game, within a year of being out of the market. So
yeah.
I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna laugh when Forza is in the top 5 for NPD, ahead of ahead of one of the shooters.
Yeah. Okay. So Conan was bought for 150 million.
Okay.
But still, Insomniac was only sold for like 250.
Right. Did you find out how much the Fall Guys got bought for, or no?
No. Looks like that was never disclosed.
Okay.
But Media is a whole arm of like mobile developers and stuff, so it probably ended up costing a decent amount. And then that's it for news. We'll probably talk about Activision next week. The Activision stuff kind of
we need to let that simmer a little bit more still. Like that kind of more shitteth has hit the faneth.
Activision, and enough that like I feel like there's going to be some major changes by like Thursday or Friday.
I don't really feel comfortable about talking about that. Until something.
Now, we need the dust to settle a little bit because like everything that happened today.
There's a really, really good Wall Street Journal article out. I don't have it. We could try to make sure it's linked in the show notes. I will find the one. I saw it on Twitter today. Didn't get a chance to read it, but I saw it on Twitter today of the link without the paywall. So I will see if we can get that in the show notes. But it's crazy. Like it's like sequels, like sequel level crazy crap.
And it's going to be one of those things where I have a feeling a lot of things will happen in a response to it in the next 3 to 4 days. So there's no point in talking about it now. Just seek out that stuff because it will change by the time this audio is released. Probably a lot.
All right.
And then the last bit is what's delayed. Steam Deck has been delayed till February 2022 due to supply shortages, which is, of course, this was going to happen. Like you can't launch. You can't do.
People
were
starting to get worried when they weren't even getting shipping confirmations. Like,
review units are out, but shipping stuff is not out. So Steam Deck, February 2022 for Wave 1, which I don't even want to know what that means for other waves because some people weren't expecting to get theirs till April. So now are those people pushed back? Steam Deck 2.0 will
be announced before they get their first version.
Before like Wave 3 or 4 gets it, we might be into like fall 2023 or something crazy.
All right. What we're playing and watching. So for me, I have not gotten a chance to dive into Vanguard. I had a couple issues downloading it. Like my internet, I kept getting DNS errors on my PlayStation. So I might need to look into some of my router stuff. It seemed to be like it was okay today, so I think I got all downloaded today. I did watch... what's the name of it? I can't even think of it now. The Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Gosling, Red Notice.
Your Red Notice. Yeah,
it was okay. I'm glad.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I saw the trailer for it, and we went to. My wife was like, "Yeah, that looks interesting." And like we were looking for like a Friday night movie to watch, like Halloween weekend or whatever, and it had a week exclusivity in theaters, and then it came to Netflix. Which I thought was kind of weird. So we watched it on Netflix. It has some pacing issues. It's funny. It's got its It's fine. It's a Netflix show. Like I'm glad I didn't go to the theater. Obviously, I did talk about seeing Eternals last week, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then played a little bit more, just messed around Destiny a little bit. There's a guy in our that was played years ago. He's playing again now, so we're trying to like teach him the game. It's very punishing for a player that's left and came back because it can be very challenging versus somebody that's like brand new that doesn't know anything. So he's had some struggles with that, but it's kind of renewed my want to do a couple of things because he needs. I'm like, oh, we got to get you this. We got to get you this. We got to help get you this. You know, so like that desire of me wanting to help somebody get those things has kind of renewed that a little bit. And then played pretty much all day today. Halo Infinite, the multiplayer. I am right off the bat. I'm going to talk about two negative things. I know it's a Halo game, so people are going to get mad at me. I do not like that you really can't ADS. It's hard. Like I'm learning. I'm getting better. And I don't like the lack of initial weapon variety.
Yeah, you mostly pick up weapons.
Yeah, and I'm learning
Halo,
that, and I'm figuring that out. So like those are the two like right off the bat like negative things. And then playing with my friend Josh, not Langford, but the progression. Apparently it's like the biggest subject on the subreddit right now is how the progression works. It only works by completing daily and weekly challenges. That's the only way you earn XP in the game. You do not earn XP for getting kills, completing matches, winning matches, losing matches, anything. It's either
unless that's your challenge for the day.
Right. It's either you do sucks. ABC and you get 100 XP or you don't. So the terrifying part is the season right now looks like it goes until May, which is super scary for your first season. So that's super, super scary. But if they have enough events scattered out through it, with what it sounds like, talking to Josh a little bit, of when an event comes out, that event might have its own mini battle pass to earn the stuff.
Maybe?
Yeah, I know like there's been a lot of talk about the samurai event that's coming like during the holidays. For you to earn like the samurai armor, because that's what everybody's saying is like right now they don't like that they're I can't even think of the name.
Guardian.
Yeah. No, that's Destiny.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah. This is like our first Halo. We messed with the campaigns before,
right?
Yeah.
So they all look the same. You can change a little bit of the color. You can put some like prosthetic arm on, and legs and stuff. Like there's a little bit of customization. But if they don't fix their progression system, like that's going to be a little bit of an issue. In terms of if you're a player that's an avid player and you complete your daily challenges and your weekly challenges in one session, then is there enough draw for you to log in every day and play your 3 or 5 matches? And in versus like grinding it out with friends and playing it, like that's a little concerning. Now, gameplay wise, like how the game functions, oddball, capture the flag, Slayer, like I'm having a blast as I'm learning.
Oh, it feels great.
Yep, as I'm learning and figuring out how far my character can jump, the sliding, just learning the maps and the sounds and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, it feels fantastic. Like like I immediately got to a nice rhythm. It helped that I played the beta like a month or so ago, so I got over like the learning problems that you're currently having being like a first Halo multiplayer, because like the experience you were having where you're getting your ass kicked, I believe you said, or you're like sucking, that was me in the beta. To where I was just like, okay, I got to figure the stuff out. So then going into this, I was able to like figure out exactly what I needed to do, how long my jump is, just because I'm so used to boots on the ground multiplayer games. So learning that, I think the only thing is the thing you mentioned earlier, the progression is just kind of a bummer, because some of the progression challenges could be very specific to a game mode, and if I'm just doing quick,
you're up to randomization essentially.
Yeah, unless you seek out individual modes. But so far, because I'm in the learning process, I'm quick playing and just letting it throw me into whatever. So that's my only problem right now. Is just like I think I had like a challenge that's like for a specific mode to where I'm just like, oh, I guess I'll wait till I get it randomly, and that's the only thing that kind of sucks. But luckily, the gameplay is strong enough to keep me just playing.
Yeah, I just can't believe that they think it's okay to just not because then players leave, or they like my friend was telling me that they laser focus on their challenge, They don't care what happens. I don't know if this is a challenge or not. Oh, pick up and deposit 5 flags. Okay. That's all they're going to do. They don't care if they get kills. They don't care if they get killed. I picked up my flag. I progressed my challenge. Like, that's all they care about. And that makes, eventually, for a toxic community.
Well, yeah, no, like, it would almost be beneficial if it was people just focusing on capture the flag of taking the flag. What I'm worried about is you'll get people that are using capture the flag as deathmatch.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I was just using the pick up the flag as an example.
Yeah.
But it might be like, get ahead. You know, like, I think there's one that says, like, get a challenge with the sword, the heavy weapon sword, and, you know, kill 5 people with that. So, like, there's, you know, like, and all they're going to do is camp the power weapon. It's an interesting dynamic for all the weapons to be scattered out, like the different weapons to be scattered out through the environment and different things to be scattered out through the environment. Just picking up on those indicators on the map and listening to the announcer is definitely challenging. I guess I would almost say that this is one of the first quote unquote esport competitive shooters that I have played on a regular basis, like playing today on a longer basis. I do miss some form of background music, but at the same time, I guess that people have been telling me, like, it's not there, so you can hear footprints, you can hear the announcer, you can hear when objectives are being picked up, like, there, you know, you can hear gunfire. Like, those are all things that are, you know, vastly indicate, you know, Destiny has some background music. Destiny has, you know, there's a lot more things, a lot more sounds happening in Destiny than are happening in Halo. Whether it's different sounds that the guns make when they're being fired, sounds the abilities make, the jumping of your character, like, and a lot of that is not existent in Halo, and for rightful reason. It's just different for me.
Yeah, and I didn't even notice that there might not be music in the background. I was just kind of in it, just trying to do the objective, but I was definitely in like 1 or 2 matches yesterday where it's like no one was doing the objective, and I'm just like, why the fuck is no one doing the objective? And then that's when later I found out about like how you progress, and I'm just like, shit, were they just trying to make the game go the full 5 minutes? And every time I would pick up the ball, they would be like, no, don't do that. You're gonna like get us closer to the end of this match. But yeah, no, the feel is fantastic. Like it's Halo. But this is the first time I'm spending like actual time in Halo, and it's just nice to just pop into a multiplayer game.
I love the smaller maps. That's my favorite part. I'm not a huge fan of the big maps, but I really like the smaller maps in terms of close quarters and the verticality of it. I'm enjoying that part of it so far. And then it's making me, like, just playing for a couple hours today, it's making me seriously consider, especially if the season goes until May, dropping the $10 on the Battle Pass.
Yeah, especially if the season's that long, $10 doesn't seem like that big of a deal.
Yep.
As long as you get enjoyment from that. Yeah, in terms of like smaller maps, I think I do prefer the smaller maps. I was on a big map, and it felt like the time to action was really long, to where I was just like, and I don't know, again, this being like my first like into Halo that isn't like the campaign, makes me just, you know, like those smaller maps and get that Call of Duty style play style where I'm like, okay, get a kill or get some action within like 10, 15 seconds, as opposed to the larger maps where I'm like, could be like 30 seconds where I'm not really interacting with anybody, and then I'm like, well, am I doing the thing right? Because I'm not like getting action. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. Like I'm expecting probably after we're done playing, I might hop on and play a little bit, but then eventually I'm gonna need some sort of progression reward. And
and I'm wondering if they're hopefully, like, if they're gonna have a cadence of events, of things going on. And I was playing with Johnny as a boy a little bit before we recorded, and he talked about, like, or it was either him or it was Josh, I don't remember, but maybe saying that a lot of things that are happening, that will be happening in the campaign, will impact stuff that happens in multiplayer. You're going to unlock stuff in the campaign that you can use in multiplayer, cosmetics. And this is, you know, like, to your point, where it was, the concern was dropping them both at the same time, to where, okay, like, I played multiplayer for like 2 weeks. Oh, the campaign's out. I'll go work on that for a little while, and then I'll go back to multiplayer. And, you know, and then the next season they bring out Forge or whatever, and or co-op campaign. Oh, let's go back through it again with a buddy. And I bet you if you complete so many chapters in the campaign with a buddy, you get another skin or something. Like, they'll tie that stuff together. And then if the cadence of these events, like this Christmas event has samurai armor, and if they can do an event every month, every other month, of that has its own small pass inside of it, like, that might be enough. I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny. Basically, the first event for this multiplayer game is going to be the single player campaign dropping.
Yeah.
In terms of like bringing more people back. that might be like, oh, I'm kind of done with the multiplayer. They play the single player, enjoy the single player campaign, and then they're like, oh, let me play some multiplayer, and then they get hooked for a little bit, disappear, and then
come back for the samurai
the
event, disappear, come back, disappear, come back.
Yeah, and they just have that like rhythm or pattern until they drop a battle royale or some shit into Halo after they run out of ideas of their current roadmap.
I'm okay with the variety of the game modes right now. It's like essentially the team deathmatch, the capture the flag, the keep away. And the variety of the maps. Like early on compared to other multiplayer games at launch, like free to play or not free to play, there's variety in this game in terms of game modes. There's variety in terms of maps, and for me, there's a strong enough learning curve to hold my attention right now.
Yeah. Anything else outside of Halo multiplayer?
No, not really.
All right. For me, obviously Halo. I did download Forza Horizon 5 last week when it dropped. Finally had a clear space on my Series X because it's 100 gig download. Impressed in like with the visual aspect of Horizon. I really enjoy arcadey racers like that. So playing that, I don't think there's much to say. Like I played a little bit of Horizon 4. This feels very similar outside of like the actual location, but in terms of the open world aspect is really fun of finding like some hidden items, events, and just doing like the non-racing events are really fun. And then when you get into the actual racing, it's just kind of a straight up racing game that doesn't hold my interest to where I'm almost reluctant to start races just because I'm enjoying like exploring the different biomes and locations that they have and messing with the cars. I'm not the biggest car guy, but like arcade racers are fun for me. So treating it straight up just like an arcade game is more fun than me progressing the story and unlocking shit. So enjoying that. I don't know how long I'm going to stick with it, especially now that Halo's out. Because in terms of like something to play quick, I thought Horizon would be the thing for me. And then Halo came out. So it's just like, well, I'm going to probably just play a couple multiplayer games of Halo as opposed to just driving around aimlessly in Horizon. But enjoying that as much as I can until Halo came out. And then I played some Inscription, finally finished Inscription. Holy shit. I wish I could talk about that properly without spoiling anything. But like right now, Inscription is probably my front runner for game of the year for where that story goes. And just
let's say anybody else playing it, you guys could just nerd out about it on an episode.
Most of my friends have just only play on console. And I know last week I was saying like, oh, this would be cool on the Switch. I got to some later stuff that like, oh shit, this can't work on console. This actually needs a PC to work from. So my hopes were dashed towards the end of that game of like, shit, you do need a PC for this. Not a technical level, just weird tricks it does requires that. So probably have to reach out to some game writing friends of just like, hey, let's talk about Inscription.
Yeah, for sure.
But that is definitely like at the top of like my game of the year list with like Ratchet and Deathloop like near it. I keep an active list throughout the year of like games I've played and then I rank them in like a top 10 list because I'm weird. So Inscription's currently number 1. And then played Mario Party. Kind of a lot of Mario Party. Had some friends over and then just playing Mario Party with Sarah. And just the same thing that happens every time I fucking play Mario Party. I want to play Mario Party, and then halfway through the game, I say, fuck this game. This is the worst game ever made. Because Mario Party is just on bullshit. I mean, I hit a point where I realized, like, I got to ask you a serious question, Dave. All right, picture Wario, like the character from Mario. Okay, where is his dick? Like look at
the stuff that you think about while you play video games and the stuff I think about while I play video games, we're not the same.
So a friend that was here playing, he picked Wario because he's like Wario's a unit, because he's just like one big like blocky dude. And then I just realized like one, Wario probably hasn't seen his dick in forever, and 2, he has no hips. So is that shit just dragging on the floor? Like, where would it be? Do Mario
How much
characters
alcohol was consumed while you were playing this game?
some soju, but like I was just like it just freaked me out because I'm like maybe all the Mario characters are built like Ken dolls.
Maybe
Or I don't even
maybe
know the mushroom.
maybe it's a peanut butter pretzel.
Maybe, maybe. I mean, but I'm just like I was just looking at like Wario's shape because I think you can rotate the character at one point, and I'm just like, I don't understand how this man's built. Like, honestly, he could be half alien, so someone is agreeing with me. But like, I don't know. I was just looking at Wario, and I'm just like, I don't know how this man quote like I don't know what he is in terms of like he could be an alien, but like I don't know. No, not under his hat. That'd be weird. I mean, maybe it's his nose because he has a weird
Thinking about
nose.
where it is in general is weird.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's weird. I think this is like realistic.
All right, what
like,
else did you watch?
There's a lot of Mario Party, so I got to see like a lot of Wario while playing Mario Party. Yeah, it's just one of those things you think about and it just bothers you for days. Just like where is Wario's dick? And then
that's Michael at digitaldaysgaming.com.
No, I mean I don't need to see like fan art because I can seek out fan art and I'm sure they don't get the proportion right. So let me go to Deviant art. No, I'll do it later. I'll send Dave some images from Deviant.
No, you won't.
It'll be the end of the podcast. We end at 107 because I just sent Wario fan art to Dave. Yeah, so Mario Party kind of
not watching that anime.
So it's really just been Mario Party, Inscription, Forza, and Halo. I have Guardians, but like there was just a lot of Mario Party and Halo over the last couple days, so I haven't been able to start Guardians, despite everyone saying that Guardians is like amazing and like better than it should be.
Guardians of the Galaxy is the exact reason that I am seeking out part of the exact reason I'm seeking out an Xbox Series X. I hear it's really, really good, but I will play it once and never play it again.
Yeah, that's why I gameplayed it because I don't think there's a native PS5 version of it. So it's just like, okay, let me just gamefly the PS4 one.
Yeah.
And then I found out that you can actually upgrade it to a digital PS5 version because I've never seen a PS5 disc. So then I upgraded for free to the PS5 version.
But you have to have the PS4 disc in or no?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I wonder how that works
later.
Probably doesn't work at all. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just Inscription, Forza Horizon 5, Halo Infinite, and Mario Party All Superstars. And just thinking about Wario just a little too much. Just a little too much.
All right.
So if someone asked Dave about Mario characters' genitalia next week, Dave would have to answer it if it's included in the doc. So just future reference for people.
Thank God we have a shared document. I can just delete stuff.
Oh, I'll still ask.
All right. So questions and comments using hashtag AskDigitalDays. You can send them to us on Discord. There's a channel in Discord. Facebook group. You can post them there. Twitter. Using you don't have to tag any of us. Just use the hashtag AskDigitalDays and we'll see it. No, you should not tag me on Twitter. And so Ante sent a question in. How do you manage your pet? Cat, your pets. Cat. This is more directed at Michael since Dave has no pets. Not true. I work on my feet every day when I come home, and I just want to sit at my PC and game for an hour or two before I start the chores. My wife understands, but my cat doesn't. So I did have a little bit of a Twitter conversation with Ante. Him and I have conversated on Twitter before, and I guess maybe I've done a disservice to the members of the community. I have a dog. I've had a dog for like 12 years, 13 years.
Did it have a name?
Yes, I have a dog. His name is Chance.
Okay.
He is a mix of multiple things, multiple dogs. He's huge. He's like 125 pounds. And he is actually in the process of like doing a massive shedding right now, like molting shedding. So there's dog hair everywhere all the time. But we're very lucky. He's a super mellow dog. He barely barks at people he doesn't bark at anybody when they walk by the house. He barely barks at anybody that comes to the house. He loves females, any female. Like, he will go outside when somebody shows up and just be very in the area of a woman. He does not jump on anybody. I haven't seen him knock anybody over. He's great with Owen, even though Owen treats him like crap. So, and we've had him essentially since I've owned this house. So that I will try to post some pictures of him if people are curious as well.
Was he named after the Homeward Bound dog? Chance?
No, I don't remember exactly. Like we got him from Humane Society. Like we adopted him. We had told the kids at the time, Jonathan and Zoe were very young, that we would get a dog when we owned a house. And like a week after moving into the house, both the young kids at the time, 7, 8, 9 years old, came to us and said, "Okay, hey, when are we getting our dog? You said we'd get a dog." And we're like, "Oh, they remember that." So, yeah. And we've, Angela had a dog growing up. I had a dog growing up. Angela's a cat person too. She had cats. I don't know if I'm a cat person. I've never had a cat as a pet. And that's where we're at with that. So, he doesn't require a lot of my attention. So he's definitely like today I'm playing video games and he's laying on the couch next to me and I'm kind of like leaning on him a little bit. Like, he's big enough that I can use him like as an armrest if I want to. And so. Yeah.
Like, I've always been a dog person. I've never owned cats until I moved in with Sarah. Basically like the tuxedo cat, the one who has an emote, he likes attention, but for the most part, as long as he's nearby a human, he's perfectly fine. He won't bother them. He's like a lap cat. Like, he would want to be in your lap, but like right now, Sarah's playing Final Fantasy 14 and he's in a beanbag chair and he just looks like he's enjoying the hell out of Final Fantasy 14. Like, no idea if he's actually watching it, but like he's sitting there and he's like right in front of the TV watching. And then the older one, the gray one, she's pretty antisocial. Like, she every once in a while wants attention. But for the most part, the only problem I have with her is if I stay up late. Like, Sarah goes to bed earlier than me, and I'll stay up sometimes. Like, if I don't have work the next day.
It's the only time I can.
And if I'm up past, if I'm up past like 12:30, 1 o'clock, the gray cat will start to harass me to go to bed. Like, will meow at me, will kind of like scratch my leg until I go to bed, and then she'll just sit on me until I fall asleep. Like, she will make sure I don't move until I knock out. The only problem is, as soon as I knock out, she jumps off of me, and that wakes me up. So then it's just like all for nothing. But for the most part, you don't really have to do anything with cats. Like, sometimes they want attention, but as long as they have food in their bowl, they kind of don't bother you. Mm-hmm. Like, when I had a dog, my dog would hang out by me, but sometimes if I'm playing a video game, he would interrupt because he'd want to play or pets.
Yeah.
Or something. But cats, for the most part, like, if you pet them too long, they bite you and run away. Like, yeah. They don't like want interaction for too long. So it's not too bad. But there are older cats too. Like, if they were kittens, I'm sure it would probably be a little bit more of a struggle. But one cat's 17 and the other one's 13. Yeah. So they're not too problematic.
Yeah. So like the balance is, I'm not sure. I've seen people that definitely seen and heard of people that hold their pets in super high regard. Like, Angela holds Chance in like super high regard. Like, I love the dog. Like, he's great. He's a member of the family. If he does something wrong, I'm frustrated with him. If he doesn't really ever do something like right. Like, I don't know. He's a dog. But there are some other people that will go out of their way to intentionally do specific special things for their pets, and that's just not kind of how we function. He's well taken care of. But he's there, and he's a great asset to the house. The kids love him. And it's just that's just what he is. He doesn't require any more or any less of my attention. He just can't get up into the bed anymore because he's too old. So. All right, so Sarah, her sends a question in. Have you ever played a game that you thought you were going to initially hate, either because of the story, the gameplay, the graphics, etc., but ended up becoming one of your favorites? I'll go first. The question's still here. Plague Tale, because I hate scary / survival games, but I love the sneaky Assassin's Creed-like gameplay so much that I saw it through to the end, and now I can't wait for part 2. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So a couple games popped in my head. The first one was PUBG. I thought I was gonna hate the battle royale genre, but I really got into PUBG for a little bit. It wasn't like super long, but Dave probably remembers there was like a portion when we were on the other podcast where I was like, "Yeah, I play PUBG," and it was probably like 2 months straight of me talking about PUBG. Inscription. I hate card games, but Inscription is a card game, and I actually really got into it. But it was the story elements that got me to actually care about playing through the card play aspect, and then eventually I enjoyed that. But one might be shocking. I remember when Red Dead Redemption was announced, it took a lot of convincing from one of my online friends to get me to play that game, and that turned into one of my favorite games of all time. It's just I don't really care for westerns. I don't like Rockstar's gameplay mechanics in terms of like their shooting mechanics, and nothing in the trailers made me interested in Red Dead. And then when I actually ended up playing it, I think I ended up getting through Red Dead in like a weekend. And that's a really long open world game, but that was also like either during high school or post high school. So I had time to play through that. But I remember Red Dead being something I thought I was just not going to enjoy. I didn't even want to buy it. It took convincing of someone of like probably months. We had like one friend convincing all of us. This back when we were in like the VGEVO, like Zero's clan. Like we had one person trying to convince everyone to pick up Red Dead Redemption, and then I did and ended up loving it. And then I ended up playing the online forever. So that is for sure one of those games that was not expecting to like, and I actually assumed I was going to hate it.
Yeah, Watch Dogs 2 for a lot of people, I think was something, as Rogue put in the chat. So believe it or not, like for like this is gonna, it's almost like an entire genre, and that's first person shooters. 8 or 9 years ago, I really couldn't play a first person shooter. I would get motion sick. It would bother me. I had a hard time. Now most of my experience with that first person was in Nintendo world, which might not have been the best frame rate at the time. But again, contrary to popular belief, Destiny was a game that I was on the fence about. Like, I wasn't super into shooters at the time. I played a little bit of Battlefield 4. I think Battlefield 4 came out before Destiny, and or right around that time. And so there were things that were, like there was a couple things that happened in Destiny that obviously grabbed my attention and significantly held on to it. But Destiny was the kind of the catapult for getting into first person shooters, and then also getting into looters as well. So I wish I could find the side quest stuff or side show stuff that we had done, that I had done with some people years and years and years ago, because there was significant conversation of my massive concerns for that game, from personal concerns for that game, as well as the other genre that I guess would be that I enjoyed playing, that I was surprised that I did, was the Telltale stuff, The Walking Dead, and the story driven like point and click games. Like I enjoyed
the adventure.
Yeah, I enjoyed Batman. I enjoyed The Walking Dead season 1 and season 2, and some of the other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head right now, like the Borderlands ones. And so like that style of game, it was nice to kind of like take a little bit of a break, a game that you could literally lay on the couch and kind of play through. Those are the first. They're more genres, not game specific. I can usually, I mean, I hate to sound like arrogant when I say this statement. I can usually tell pretty much by watching a trailer or watching some gameplay if it's going to be something I'm going to enjoy or not going to enjoy. So I mean, all right. Last question comes in from Hussein. What is the one place in the world that you want to go with your family/partner, and what's so interesting to you about that place? Go ahead.
Yeah. I think mine is pretty boring considering we're a video game podcast. Like I just always wanted to go to Japan, just because I like their balance of like their advanced technology, but also just like the history that's there. Like there's some really nice nature aspects, but then they also have really interesting like city like setups. So I think I would just want to go, and me and Sarah are planning to eventually go to Japan. But I think that's the thing I can think of Just because, like, just mapping out of just like, wow, we could like go to Tokyo and then like take a train, like a bullet train or whatever, to like their nature stuff and look at like old shrines, and then be back in an hour or two to Tokyo.
Yeah, Bleak lives there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Bleak talks about some of the stuff, and some of the pictures that he posts on social media are really, really cool. And then I haven't played games with him in a couple months, but just some of the, like, oh, we just took a day trip to here, and then and then he'll show pictures on social media. I'm like, that's a day trip. Like,
yeah, that I think that's the aspect of just like, oh, you can really see a lot of different things by going over there.
All right,
as opposed to going to just another city.
I'm gonna give 3 answers. One of them is family driven from my heritage and as I would love to go to Ireland. It's where my mom's family is from, and I think that there would be some very interesting people that I would like to meet there. 2 would be London. My wife Angela desperately wants to go to London. I think London is also a very cool city, as well as there's some DD community members in the area. And the number 3, just on a personal, like, a cool place that I want to go to Dubai.
Yeah, Dubai seems cool. It just seems like getting there is like the thing.
And and then I guess the other one, if it's really true, is it sounded like it was like it looked like a really cool city in the movies. I don't know if you've seen this movie. You're gonna laugh at me for saying this, and I can't remember where it is, because I don't think it's Japan either. But it's like where Crazy Rich Asians, where he went to be married.
No, I've never seen it.
Yeah, I feel like it's a form of India, like southern India or something like that.
Malaysia?
I don't know. Somebody's gonna tell me that. I'm sure. Like I can't. Maybe Angela will tell me. But if you've ever seen
Singapore.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Singapore. That's it. Yeah. That would be. I think Dubai and Singapore would be like super cool just to go and like just kind of be there. My wife and I are like trying to plan some kind of random like impromptu trip for her and I just to get away from stuff. And I was like, you know what? Let's go to like New York City, like, and let's go let's just hop on a plane and go Thursday night and come home Sunday morning and go see a show on Broadway, or just to be in Manhattan.
Me and Sarah, I've like almost got her this close to like, let's just go to Disneyland tomorrow.
Yeah.
Of just like, let's just take an overnight flight, go straight to the park, and then take a flight home.
Yeah, we're even like looking at like Pittsburgh is only like a 4.5 hour drive for us. And like I was like, well, the Tigers play the Pirates like May 3rd or 4th, so we might go there and go to that, the Pirate Stadium. And to be honest with you, like I know you live there, but like I have not spent significant time in Chicago at all, ever.
Yeah.
So that's definitely on a list. Even you and I have talked about it, and and we're just kind of waiting for the pandemic to like chill out. So
yeah,
because we've talked about even us coming to Chicago for some type of extra life thing.
Yeah.
So, but I have not gotten a chance. I desperately want to go to Wrigley. I know you're like, whatever. I would love to do both games. I would love to do, like, if the Cubs played at night and the White Sox played during the day, I would love to do one day of that. Like,
yeah, it's something that me and my friends have always like planned about,
like
doing, of like, all right, we'll do a day in Wrigley and then we'll do a night game at the cell. But we just never can quite get it coordinated.
If we could ever tie it, like, if this actually happens, like I'm 100% doing this. If we could tie it in a 3 or 4 day span, if I could go to a Cubs game, a White Sox game, and the Lions play the Bears, 100%.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Your weekend.
So like, Michael's like, I'll go to the baseball games with you. You're going to Soldier Field by yourself.
Yeah. I'm not going to watch football.
Yeah. No. So, all right.
Actually, a scrub game like the Lions and the Bears.
Oh my gosh! Just because your boy Zach Levine or whatever had a good game the other day, or not even Levine. Who was it?
Everybody.
Lonzo. Yeah.
Oh, there's 3 stars on the Bulls now. It's very weird. I'm not used to this concept.
All right. So those are our questions. Again, you can send us those using hashtag AskDigitalDays. Somebody asked me today, like an Xbox message, I will try to stream a little bit more. It's going into the holiday season, so I'm not going to sit there and make any promises. But I will attempt to stream a little bit more. Like maybe I was also even thinking out loud today, like I could just download Halo multiplayer on my PC and stream on the PC instead of bringing my consoles down here right now. because it's free to play and it's just how it works.
And it uses your same Xbox account.
Yep. So
your progress will carry over.
Yeah. So there's I could do some of that. We could definitely play some Halo together. We could try to play Forza. Randy's been bugging me about Forza. Just a lot of it. Like sometimes you guys just gotta like kind of prompt me to play, and I'll try to make some time. But if not, I'll just end up like watching something on TV, paying attention to my fantasy football team, or just turn Destiny on because something triggered in that I need to look at. But for the most part, I'm enjoying Halo. I'm glad I'm glad I took I really want to try to give this a real fair shake and see if I can just have some good fun with it before the campaign comes out and then play the campaign. So spotlight wise, I guess it would be that if you're not following us on Twitch, please consider follow us on Twitch. Curry, you just got to ask me. Division still downloaded. I know even that one time he did ask me, I completely said yes and I forgot.
The Outriders content drops.
Outriders had a new content drop. Avengers has got a content drop at the end of November. So like, there's a lot of things going on. So we'll just have to see. So you can follow us on social accounts. The main account is at Digital Days Pod. Please consider following. Get that number up a little bit more just to get us some better exposure. Michael's account is at First MJC. Mine is at Good Dave Hunt. Links to the Facebook group are in the show notes. Links to the Discord server that we talked about are in the show notes. PayPal is in there. Patreon is in there. Teesprings is in there. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff going. Like I said, the PayPal links there. There's just a whole bunch of links there. So, and you can please feel free to support us, share the show, review us any way possible. And I hope everyone has a fantastic week. We'll have to see how the editing goes. This will probably be the last episode you listen to before Thanksgiving, or we'll release one on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think we'll end up releasing it on Thanksgiving. I
think last year we released it a little early, so I think some of that might depend on schedules and editing. So that'll be something that Michael and I will address. So
yeah,
but happy holidays if you or however you celebrate. So you got anything else, Michael?
No, but since you mentioned the Bulls, bullspod.com is my Bulls podcast. We do bi-weekly, so bullspod.com. Surprisingly, that domain was available. And then everymovieever.zone for my movie podcast that drops once a week because I like podcasting. And then me and Dave need to figure out when we're going to record the November Patreon episode. So there's still time for people to suggest stuff for me and Dave to talk about for November because currently we have no idea slated.
Yeah.
For unless Dave watches more anime. So well, hopefully we'll find something else.
We don't have any of the other like break glass in case of emergencies. We don't have like Halloween traditions and Christmas traditions and Thanksgiving traditions.
We already
we tapped all that out. So.
Yeah.
All right. I hope everyone has a great week and keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.